Oh, hi all, welcome back to the 1 minute farming videos and the Holbrook lathe rebuild. As you can see, it's it's moved from one side of the shed here to the other. I did have problems on the floor there. You see that crack in the floor? Well, it's not a crack, it's a concrete joint. We couldn't get it to sit properly there, obviously. So we moved it over here and onto a bit more smoother level of concrete and put it onto some very hard plastic pads, which I suspect once it gets its full weight of 1.5 tons built up, will just bed nicely down into that plastic. Now, as you can see, we've got the main spindle gearbox. I'm going to be in my light here. The main spindle gearbox put back on. Quite a heavy item that, we had to lower it on with the hoist. And we've got the other quite main important gearbox on down here, casing, which will be full of gears when we get it put back together, all these shafts and various, which drives the apron and all its associated components. Now, in the last video we installed the gears down in the I'll just get the light actually, not the best of lights. We installed the forward and reverse gears, which go underneath the gearbox, which drives off the 3 bevels. It all went together in the end. I finished the video because I forgot to put this gear on, and when I got the gear to go on, it decided that it was going to be tight, so I had to use a brass drift just to gently tap it onto the shaft. But I think we pretty well explained it quite well in the last video of how it all went together. When you do get the gearbox put on or upright in the correct position, you do need to remember to put the nut and washer on this shaft here, which holds that top bevel gear, to the bottom of the gearbox. There's a name for that type of reversing system, forward and reversing system, and I, for the life of me, can't think what it is. There is a proper name for it, using 3 bevel gears and a dog that slides between the 2. It might come back to me, I don't know. And then, I don't know if we can see it, I'm going to shine the light in, but hopefully you can just see those 2 white fork bits, that one and that one. They connect up onto the bottom of the dog underneath. Just let me shine the torch. It's not sort of coming out really. But there they connect onto that dog, which moves, and they change it from forward to reverse gear. So basically, there's a gear comes off the back of the spindle here, drops down onto that idler gear that screws in there, and then drives this gear here, which through another gear eventually drives all the gear sets inside this gearbox. We can see the arm, which alters the thing. There we go. I don't know if I can move it. Try to. There you go. It goes one way. That's neutral. And I can't get into the forward one. I think I might have the detent spring just a bit tight. There is, behind that stud, a spring and a pin which holds into the top of the that forked lever inside, which gives it some detent. So yeah, that's about where we are there. There's the oiler I think we mentioned. So you're meant to put oil in there. It's a total loss system, which means that, you know, the oil on here will disappear eventually, so you've got to keep topping it up. And then remember, before you start any work, just to close it so no chips, lathe chips, etc., dust gets into the hole. There's one thing I will say on this gearbox, is there's a locating dowel. And that locating dowel is there. And what you need to do before you lower the gearbox back onto the ways is just tap that locating dowel back through, not out, just back through into the gearbox, so it will be out here. And then once you're happy that you've got everything lined back up, i.e. the 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and that one in the shadows, 4. Once you're happy everything's lined back up, very gently just tap that dowel back through and it will centre itself back onto a hole in this way and line itself all back up. Now, I did say that I've not got down the route of scraping the ways. I'm sort of hoping that it's not too far out. It didn't seem far out when I bought the lathe, and so I've not scraped them. But if you did scrape those ways, then it is a monumental job getting everything levelled and lined back up again. So I'm hoping that this isn't going to be too far away. As I say, or I haven't said maybe, the spindle that comes through this big bearing here, they do run, gently take that out, they do run in white metal bearings. Now both these bearings, this one and the one at the back, have been scraped. There is evidence of them being scraped. And by scraped I mean, I think I've said, you gently remove, you blew your shaft, drop the shaft in, and then turn it a couple of times, lift the shaft away, and then you scrape off all the high spots that are left, that are inked. And you do that until you get an even pattern right across your bearing. So I do believe this one's been done. There are marks suggesting that it has been done. So I'm going to hope that when I come to do the centre test with the tailstock at the back and the centre point in the spindle, I'm going to hope that they're not too far out this way. We can adjust them laterally, but it's much more difficult to adjust them horizontally. You do then have to start messing around with grinding bits on the tailstock down here. Off the base, here's the base, you would have to grind bits off just to get them to sit down. It's a lot difficult, but I'm hoping I won't have to go down that route. So yeah, so that's where we are with the main thing. We're going to have to clean out some of these bearings. I noticed there's a bit of paint dribble gone into them. Don't know if that's showing up, yeah it is, yeah. So we'll have to do those bearings. Shouldn't take much doing. That bearing, there is a ball bearing race in there. It's okay. It's a little bit notchy, and I suspect what it is there's a lot of swarf filings, well not metal filings, but more brass filings in the bottom of the gearbox. And I'm guessing there's probably some got inside that bearing, but for the life of me I cannot get that bearing out. The bearing's held in with a tapered pin, which was had a nut on the top of it, and we did everything just to try and get that tapered pin to pop out. And I knew eventually what would happen. Obviously the top of this thing snapped off, but it turns over, it doesn't have any play in it. It just feels a little bit grouchy. So hopefully it's going to be okay. Well, it will be alright. If it wasn't alright, then I would fight it out. But I just don't know, if I start drilling on this pin, I just don't know what I'm drilling into, and I don't want to damage the casting. Interestingly, on this lathe, there's a lot, everything that's machined. I don't know if you can see that by that pin. Come on, focus. I don't know if that's coming out. But everything that's been machined has got stamped with a number 3. Now I know the T range, that this is a family member of a family. It does, in a lot of the bits I've read, it does suggest that the T range was a special build. I might be wrong, but I don't know why it should be. But everything on this lathe, even this box here somewhere, there is a 3 stamped on it. I just can't remember where. On here somewhere. So everything that's made on this lathe is stamped with a 3, unless it's like a stock item such as a handle or something. So interestingly, yeah. I'd like to think maybe it was number 3 off the production line. I don't think it would be. It's probably number 3, the operator, that actually bolted the thing together. So yeah, so the next job in here will be to start putting gears back inside these bushes. But I might just go and put the clutch back together. You wouldn't think, well, why the clutch? But the trouble is, I've got a lot of bits that belong to the clutch up in the workshop, and they're cluttering my bench up, so I think we might just do that. I do apologise, sometimes it gets a bit noisy and howly in here, and unfortunately we stood behind a big set of doors, and so you get this rattling noise going on, and so I do apologise for that. The introduction video, I did notice there's a lot of rattle on it, so I do apologise there, folks. Okay then, well, I'll bring this video to a close, and we'll move on to the next bit. Alright then, thank you.